I thought he was gonna.
That was on me.
Danny, yo, edit this.
You do fake laughs.
Here, have a piece of cheese.
Daddy, you want some cheese?
You want some smoky cheese? Shut up! I'm uninviting you.
Can you add that at the beginning? We're going. Okay, ready?
Happy New Year's! I'm Dante.
I'm Mello. I'm Danny.
I'm Juan, please, and today we're going to be talking about how this year went and what are our plans for next year. So I can speak for everyone. We had a very tough year, and with COVID, with many things being canceled, with many of our plans not being what we planned at the beginning of the year, we all saw a beginning, and we all thought this was going to be 2020 vision, but God just shifted everything. So here we're going to explain a little bit of how our year went. So how do you guys want to start out?
Well, this year was interesting, right? So I moved out towards the end of February. I moved out on my own for the first time, right? Because I lived with my parents for my whole life, right? Up until that point. But I was getting married, right? So it was like time to transition, and the office where I work transitioned up to the Broward area, and I thought it was gonna be cool, right? I was gonna get like the full experience of living on my own and like getting to go out and explore a new area, right? Because I've never really been in Broward, so I get to like explore this new area and get to know new things. And then I moved, right? And then everything shut down, like everything stopped. And it gets very lonely, you know. Like that was a struggle. Like it was a big struggle for me because I started working from home, and then I also do school full time, so it was also school from home. So I just I didn't have a place to relax. It was like whenever I was home, I'm in the place where I'm always like working. So I felt very stressed out. When I was at work in the office, when I came home, I still had to do schoolwork. But it's like you get home, it's like okay, I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like okay, I got whatever I got to do. I got the schoolwork, whatever. That's fine, but I'm home. You know. Once everything got shut down, I didn't have that separation anymore. So it was just like everything was in the same place all the time. Yeah. And I just like wanted to quit work and quit school and like do nothing. And it's also hard to, you know, like it was just me and my dogs for a lot of the time. Me and Melissa didn't get married until 6 months after. So I was like in that time, there was a lot of alone time for me. You know, because she wasn't like over every single day. Like she made an effort to like be over as much as possible. But there were like times where I wouldn't see her for like a week or two, you know? And then it was just like me on my own for 2 weeks. And it just gets lonely, man, having no one to talk to. So that was like a big struggle for me this year. It was also an opportunity to seek God. Yeah. Right? Yeah, and in those things, I was able to like find answers and find a balance in my life. And then, you know, we have thank God we have a spare room. So I made that spare room into an office. So then I had like a separation between like my work stuff and then like, the rest of the house.
That's good.
And I learned to live with myself and know myself better. And like, you know, I'm the kind of person, where I was the kind of person who like I could never be in silence. Like I always had to like have TV or music or something playing in the background. Like I couldn't be alone with myself. So I learned how to be alone with myself a lot during this year, which was a blessing in disguise, right? Because it wasn't fun, right? But it was definitely necessary. And then we got married and things got better.
And then you weren't lonely.
Right.
So let's give people like a timeline. So we had 3 months of 2020 of what we thought would be an amazing year with so many things in plan. And then all of a sudden in March, like mid-March, it was 16th. Just, it was just like everything went like, okay, we're shutting this down. Switching from school online, everyone was like, oh yeah, it's going to be a week. And then me knowing, I was like, this isn't just like a week. Yeah. Like go back to other pandemics. They spent like a year, 6 months. Like this wasn't gonna be just a week. So basically, like what I learned was day by day, like things are gonna be changing. Every day was like another week. No, you know what? Another month. And here we are, and they're still like, no, we're gonna close this back again. Yeah. No, we're gonna go back. Yeah, we're gonna open it. So it was more like day by day, and God in this like moment, he was like, you're gonna do your process. So on top of that, it's like you're dealing with COVID, you're dealing with us, and he's like, you know what, let's go back in time. Let's deal with what happened with you when you were 5. So it was like right now, like really overall, like it was a very good year. Yeah. But it had its ups and downs.
Definitely. Yeah, it's crazy to think back to when it all started. Like now, since you were saying that, I think back as to how I work at a school. Right, so I remember literally we had like the big projector on watching the screen and what the superintendent of schools was gonna say about closing the schools, and we were all like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? It's crazy. Like, and then he's like, no, we're deciding to close on schools, and we're all like, what? Like, we had no idea what was going on. Like, I was still working from home, thankfully. That's a blessing because I know that a lot of people lost their jobs and had to, you know, leave. But I was with my husband and my son, which was a blessing. But also very hard. Very hard. My husband and I got to know each other even more, like in different levels of like, we argued, we got better, then we argued again, then we were good for 2 weeks, then we argued again, and then like, and we have a toddler, so running around all the time, we had to take him out, like, you know, so we at least walked around the neighborhood every day, because it was like our time to breathe fresh air, and for him to let his energy out. But yeah, it was definitely challenging. Even like just thinking of going to the supermarket, going to get groceries, like okay, who's gonna go get groceries? Like for me, that was like my relaxing time. I was like, I'll go to Publix, cause so yeah, it's definitely challenging, but it was also a lot of time of growth and learning new things about myself, new things about my spouse. Even Caleb, our son, like we even saw how he enjoyed having us there. Right. You know, both of us together all the time, and we were able to make, you know, we would sit down and play with him, and like seeing him happy, you know, was fulfilling for us too.
Right. You brought up when it started, like pandemic started. Yeah. And that was our 6-year anniversary. That we went up to Orlando to take our engagement pictures. And I remember like we went up and like things were starting already, like, oh, what's gonna happen this week? And we were taking the pictures with our photographers, and it was like, oh, this is gonna go away. Like we were being so dramatic, and like you know, it was like, and then I remember her telling us like, oh, she had a couple weddings that were like postponing, and this is already like just started. We're like, oh no, June will be fine. And like I remember everything like, oh, this is just, and
like,
even
no way we had to reschedule.
It was super like cool. I mean, funny enough, 2020, like you said, 2020 vision, it was like a very exciting year.
Everyone had that.
2020 vision. You know, our date was also June 2020. Yeah. So I was like, you know, super excited for the year. But funny enough, one of the words that God had given me for the 2020 was change, because you know I was getting married. A lot of things were changing in my life, and I just felt that a lot. But like it was like changed to the max with like all the other changes. It was hard, but I think it was a really good year for me. Like, you know, like us getting married, that was definitely like a highlight of the year. Be highlight. But a lot of good things, you know, at work. And you were saying that so many people got, you know, they were left without a job, people that lost their homes. And we were reflecting, and I bring up my job because it was a year where like I was able to see God, like our company like is doing the best it's been doing like during pandemic, and seeing like God's hands in our life, like you know, in our work and our marriage, like it's just so crazy to see that, and like, you know, also be grateful for like even in the midst of all of that, like seeing God's hand in our lives.
Yeah, His faithfulness.
His faithfulness. A lot of times we tend to make plans and we think we know what we're doing best, and then something like this happens, right? And God shows up in our lives and He changes everything completely, right? And we have one idea in our heads, and like even what Melissa was saying, that when all this first started, we were talking about it in March, and we were talking about our wedding in June. They're like, no way, this lasts till June, right? Yeah, we're gonna go ahead with our wedding. And even up to like a month before our wedding, we were still like, no, like everything's gonna be fine. And then we had to postpone to September, right? And God used those 3 months to shape our relationship and bring us closer together so much more. And it's something that we really needed. Like, we got married in September, right? We're supposed to get married June 20th. We got married September 12th. And we really needed all that time to grow. Like, I look back, I mean, now when I look back, I remember looking back on that day even, and I don't even know what getting married on June 20th would look like. Like, we were not ready, you know? Not only, like, were there emotional things that God worked on with us, but we had been so concentrated on, like, oh, nothing's gonna happen. Should we change it? Should we not change it? That we didn't really finish planning all, like, the minor details. And we were like, behind. Like, we were talking about a month before the wedding. and Melissa hadn't even looked at a wedding dress.
I didn't even buy a dress.
You
Oh
know?
my God.
We've been in a relationship for 6.5 years already by the time we got married.
Yeah.
And it was already a lot of waiting, and I honestly, when like we talked about postponing, didn't want to wait anymore. I was done waiting.
Right.
So it took a lot of prayer and like really, like I really relinquished that to God, right? Because in my mind, like in my flesh, I was like, no, like if it's me, Melissa, and the dogs, we're getting married on June 20th, no matter what, you know? And Melissa told me, she's like, I feel like we should wait. So then I prayed about it and I felt peace. And as much as it hurt, like I made the decision, we made the decision together to, all right, let's postpone.
Yeah.
And it was really something from God. Like we were not ready to go ahead on June 20th, as desperate as I was to do it. You know, we just like got into our plans and I mean, our
that's
marriage.
crazy because even in those that's like one of the biggest decisions that we make in our lives to get married, and like even in those things like one could say that this whole year was for you guys, you know, like for you guys to get married in September. Like God is so specific and awesome and particular with each one of us. Like each one of us, like our lives, our families had a plan, and God had a plan for us this year. You know, sometimes, and even if we can't see it, I definitely saw His faithfulness in my family, in our finances, especially because. Of course, I didn't know. I mean, I still had my job, but I didn't know if we were gonna stop. You know, if we were gonna close the school. My husband usually worked outside, so he couldn't do what he usually did. So it was a struggle. But we never, like, once were without food. We were never once like without a roof over our heads. God was faithful. So, and this year that has been like one of my like pillars, like just being thankful because of God's faithfulness through all of this.
We went into this year, like, we all have the tradition of like what our resolutions are, or with vision boards, like create vision boards. I created a vision board, and many things in my vision board happened because it was like personal things. But like one of my things was like apply to this school, but then everything switched because it was like I have to go by June of next year, and now we don't know. And other things were like have a great senior year, have a great this. But it was like God had plans, and in this time I was able to stay home and stay online in school, and at the same time do my process. And I was like talking with friends that did it before, and they were like, I had to balance like schools, AP test, FSA test, and on top of that, like do my process on Wednesday class and on Tuesday support group for 2 hours. So it was like doing all of that and still balancing your life and still balancing school and balancing like daily things going on. So God, like, He set aside that time, and He was like, we're just gonna extend it a little bit more, and like you're gonna do all of this. But overall, like, it was a very good year.
Yeah, everyone had like time to work on themselves. You know, like if there's one thing that 2020 gave us, it's really
time.
Right? It's time.
A lot of time.
We always use it as an excuse for anything that we want to do in life. It's like, oh, if only I had the time to do this, if only I had the time to do that. And 2020 gave you the time to really, you know, focus on the things that you wanted to do outside of work. Like I have so many friends whose focuses have really shifted into like seeking God more, you know, and that's all happened over the course of this year, over the course of this pandemic. And it's like we have to pay attention to those things, right? We gotta look for the small blessings and how God is doing things in our lives, even when we think everything's out of control and everything's chaotic. God is really always working in this, right? God is always teaching us something, and that's like that's a valuable lesson for me. That like something that I've learned is like when I'm in the midst of something troubling, in the midst of a storm, I always look to God and God, okay, what are you trying to teach me? Like, what is the lesson here? You know, and a lot of times we don't take time to do that. You know, and I know that's been the case for a lot of people during this pandemic. It's just been like worrying about everything that's gonna happen, but we need to like really take time. It's like, okay, God, what are you trying to teach me, or what's the lesson?
I think that's a good like segue and perspective to have for this new year that's coming up, 2021, and be open to the fact that, you know, maybe we didn't value the time that we had this year. Maybe we misused the time that we had this year, but to be mindful now in this new year that's coming, to be able to use this time wisely and seek God and see what He wants us to use our time for. You know, and make that one of our resolutions or goals or something, to be able to really use our time wisely in how God wants us to use it, and not, you know, just waste it.
Throughout a time in the pandemic, I was also very like, oh, we have time. And for a minute, I was about to go full on more wedding mode. And I was like, wait, I'm home. You know, it's like also my last month's home before I got married. So time to my sister that was away for school in New York was home with us. So it's kind of like, I was very close to getting all about like, okay, let me continue with wedding. But it was kind of like also stopping and like seeing, okay, God, like you allowed this, you know, to be with my sisters at home, my parents, unresolved things that helped like in those 3 months to my marriage later on. But also seeing that like it's never too late. Like, you know, as we reflect today on 2020, it's also seeing like maybe those areas of 2021 we could like use that time wisely, and also always include God, like ask God, like you know, like because when we start planning, but like something right that 2020 showed us, like we make plans, but God could come and change them, or situations come that change that, and being open to that, including God in those plans that we make for 2021.
And I hope like that's something that we all get from this year, that this year was like he taught us many things that we should put into practice for next year, like Daniel was saying. This year was a reflection year of what's been going on that we need to fix for next year, like a fresh start. God taught us so many things, and we're gonna like do new things in our life, and he's gonna just like push us forward to new plans and new things that are happening that maybe they started now, like you guys have been, like you guys got married this year, so it's like he taught you, and then he was like, okay, you guys are prepared to get married this year, so like we'll make it happen. And like Donnie didn't lose her job, so like she still kept on with that, and he taught me new things for me, and now I graduate next year, and now I can move on with my life, and now it's in my new chapter to learn new things.
Yeah, and I think an important lesson too is to learn to rest. Right? You were talking about how like everything is like work, but we really need to learn to like take care of ourselves and our health. You know, go out, enjoy your family, like learn to stop and smell the roses. You know, that's something that this year has really taught us, like to be thankful for every little thing that we have around us.
De la crisis salen las cosas buenas. Like when we're in our bad moments is when God like glorifies himself, and he's like, let's teach you something. So that's what happened this year basically. And I remember like we were in Orlando, and then like the whole worship team was like, we all got COVID, so it was like surrounding us, and like from that God taught us new things, and he was like be patient, like you're gonna go through tough times, but out of that the team got stronger. Like we all united, and we were taking care of each other. How are you? What are you doing? Oh yeah, like you're doing good. And then like right now we had another friend that had COVID, and everyone was like, how are you doing? So it brought unity, even like though we were in our separate worlds. Like many people live in Homestead, you guys live in Broward. Even though we were far away, we all united, and we were having Zoom calls. Like that was the highlight of this year's Zoom.
Right.
But they got a lot of money from that. We had a lot of Zoom meetings, and I hope like we take it until next year. It's not like, oh, pandemic is over, like we don't talk anymore.
It definitely brought a lot of families together. Us too. We did like birthdays, Zoom birthdays of like family members in Colombia that we would have never called even on their birthday.
So many of you know, because many of you are faithful watchers, and we love them. No, we're just kidding. This year we started Let's Talk. It was funny because we were filming our intro video for season 1. So we were filming like our very first video. We filmed that March 14th exactly, and it didn't come out until like June, because we didn't have anything else, because we got shut down completely. Like we couldn't see each other. I feel like God was shaping us during that time, and shaping us as like the ministry to give you guys the content that he desired for you guys to see, and for us to show our testimony and what he wanted us to show to you guys, and what he wanted to testify and of his glory in it, like in our testimonies. I can testify that Let's Talk has been something of God's timing, like completely. We've had many ups and downs. We had to postpone many things, but everything came in his time, and everything was being shown that it had to be in that moment, and it couldn't have been before. Like it had to be then. Overall, we've seen how God had his perfect plan for us with Let's Talk, and even as a church, our church grew in this time.
Oh yeah.
We had a moment where like numbers were keeping on going, and like we don't focus that much on numbers. We focus much on what God is doing and the fruit that is coming on, because we can have many numbers but not that much fruit. And I think we can all testify in There Is Hope, in Hay Esperanza, in Alive. You guys are leaders of Alive, so like how was it there?
Even the fact of like becoming one with the online family, like you know, even the people that would do the process online, and like even for like Alive and the youth, like seeing how cool, like how now we are one, and seeing how people like making them feel a part of it. Like now we're all part of the online community as well.
It's really forced us to focus on that. I mean, like that's a big opportunity that not only us as Alive, but as the entire ministry of Canaan, I think we were just like not really focusing on. Like it was there, but it was like added to. It wasn't part of. But this year, it's really like you were saying that everyone's the family. It's not like the online people and the physical people now. It's just like everybody is Canaan, everyone is the ministry, and we have the same thing with Alive. You know, we've been able to host these connect groups every Thursday, or every other Thursday now with the youth, which has been amazing. You know, they've opened up so much as we've slowly transitioned back to being in person. Those relationships and the vulnerability that they've been able to see online, that they've been able to show themselves online, has transferred over into like our relationships in person with them. You know, you can definitely see how it's been a blessing, having those moments where it's just on a Zoom meeting. Something that you think would maybe like make us take steps back has made us grow even more, not just in quantity, but in like the quality of the relationships and the people and the fruit, like you were saying.
Yeah. This time, like as a church, we've had time to plan overall.
Yeah.
Like everything that we had for this year, now next year we're coming in like better, bigger and better.
Right.
Even if we're still in COVID, like God showed us what we had to do and what we could do, and we have bigger plans. So we've had 9 months to like go through it and be like, oh yeah, let's do that. But let's plan it out good.
Yeah.
Like these things with the Instagram lives that we're gonna start, we had time. We were like, okay, how are we gonna do this? What topics was we gonna do? What topics are gonna impact people that are really worth doing in their life? What new content are we taking out next year? Because I'm telling you guys, it's good content. We haven't filmed it yet, but it's good content. 2020 has been very exciting for us, and what this year had in store for us. I said for us twice, but we're gonna go back and do it again. Danny, edit that. Ready. That happened to us. I said us again.
Oh my god.
So as we just talked about it, 2020 had a lot of things for us for Let's Talk and for ministry in Canaan. But we have many new things for you guys that is coming for Let's Talk in 2021. So what are some things that are gonna happen instead?
So we're gonna have new content. We're gonna have some vlogs that we're working on. Social experiments and more face-to-face interaction.
We're gonna have a couple Instagram and YouTube lives.
We're also gonna do some podcasts, have some new guests, and then more of the content you know and love.
So if you guys have any ideas that you guys would like to see Let's Talk doing, leave it down below in the comment section. Personally, my favorite is a podcast. I've been pushing for podcasts for a long time. We hope you guys have a great and a safe, happy New Year's. And from the Let's Talk team, to you guys, we wish you all a Happy New Year's. See you guys next year.
Happy New Year.
And from Let's Talk to you, Happy New Year. Yay!